Ayan. Hello guys! Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Teacher KRC and I am here to discuss to you the Lesson 2 in Community Engagement entitled Community in Different Perspectives. Okay. So now, I'm going to discuss to you first the objectives. Actually, kinuha ko na lang dito yon sa most essential learning competencies. And number 1 is, after the lesson or after we have studied the lesson, our objective is you will be able to compare and contrast the definitions of community using various perspectives. And number 2, you have to recognize the diversities in communities. Number 3, develop or affirm a sense of shared identity and willingness. And next is, the last one is we have to contribute to the attainment of common good. Okay, so before we proceed to our new lesson for today, let's have a short discussion or recap about Lesson 1. In Lesson 1, we are able to discuss the definition of community, the meaning of community action, community engagement, and the different approaches of community action and dynamics. Let us now discuss Lesson 2. And I will begin by discussing to you the nature of a community. So, community comes from the Latin word communitas, which means fellowship, and Latin roots, communis, which means common. So, nanggaling yung community sa salitang communitas. This is a Latin word that means fellowship. And meron siyang Latin roots, na ang Latin roots naman, yun yung communis, na ang ibig sabihin naman ay common. So, meron silang common, ibig sabihin ng common, pare-pareho. Pag sinasabi naman nating communitas, meron silang fellowship, o kaya naman ay samahan. Okay. Now, sabi nga, ang community daw is a geographical area where a group of people lives in common life, linked together by factors such as religious belief, sexual orientation, occupation, ethnic origin, and a shared sense of identity and belonging. So, yung sinasabi natin na nandoon sila, ang isang community daw ay grupo ng mga tao na nakatira sa isang area o geographical area na meron silang pare-parehong paniniwala, sexual orientation, trabaho, or ethnic origin. Meron silang parehong pinagmulan. Okay. So that's it. I hope you remember that, guys. Next. We'll go now here in community in different perspectives. Ano-ano nga yung mga definition ng community base sa iba't ibang pananaw. Okay. So, punta tayo dito. So, social science perspective. Ayon dito, ang community daw is a congregation of people unified but by at least one common characteristics. Yan. When you say congregation, ito yung samahan, lipon ng mga tao. Diba? Na pinagsama-sama ng kahit na isang common o pare-parehong characteristics. Ayan, kahit na isa, kunyari pare-pareho sila ng characteristics na lahat sila puro mababait, puro matatalino, puro mahilig mag-aral. Ayan. So, sa social science perspective, iyon yung definition ng community. And then number 2, we have here the institutional perspectives. Pag sinabi naman nating the institutional perspectives naman, this arises from voluntary shared agreement among individuals that generally shapes their behavior collectively. Ayan, ano ba ibig sabihin nun? Voluntary shared agreement. Ito yung samahan ng mga tao na merong isang pinagkasunduan na bagay. Ayan, kunyari na, institutional niya, social institution yun eh. So, meron silang ipinag-agrihan. May agreement sila na ito yung susundin nila. Meron silang kasunduan. Okay. Next, let's go to community-based perspective o yung tinatawag natin na local and grassroots level. Sabi nga dito sa discussion natin, yung community daw is seen as a setting for intervention, target for change, and resource. Usually, pagka sinabi kasi nating local and grassroots level, ito yung mga tao na pinalalakad natin. 'Di ba? Yung grupo ng mga tao na gusto ng pagbabago sa isang community. Okay? Next, number 4, we have the ecological perspective. This perceives behavior not only as a product of knowledge, values, and attitudes, but also views behavior as a result of social influence. Meron na siyang impluensya sa ating kapaligiran. The ecological perspective is about how the system or product works within its external environment. It is about how the system or product is used in its context and how the system or product interacts in and communicates with its environment in the process. So, ecological, the term ecology, okay? So, let's go here. Number 5, we have the sectoral perspective. Communities are seen as a system which is comprised of individuals and sectors with diverse characteristic and interrelationships. So, ito daw ay binubuo ng mga tao o kaya naman sektor na may iba't ibang characteristics and interrelationship. So, example of sectoral na community, kunyari na itong sektor na to, sektor ng mga senior citizen, sektor ng mga PWD, sektor ng mga out of school youth. Yun yung tawag doon. Iba-iba man yung karakter nila, pero pinagsama-sama sila doon sa sektor na kanilang pinabibilangan o to which the sector that they are included. And then last but not the least, we have the civil society perspective. This is defined as the wide array of non-governmental organizations and volunteer groups that are fighting for solutions to social issues that continue to worsen the condition of the disadvantaged sectors of the society, especially the poor. So, pag sinabi natin, mga anak, na civil society perspective, dinidefine siya sa malaking array o malaking wide array of non-governmental organizations. So, pag sinadinig natin yung non-governmental organization and volunteer groups, ano yung pumapasok sa isip ninyo? Diba? Ang dami kayang mga NGOs. Diba? Marami din naman ang mga volunteer groups. Ano ba yung mga example ng mga NGOs o mga non-governmental organizations na alam ninyo? So, dito yan pumapasok sa civil society perspectives. Diba? So, yan yon. So, now, we'll go naman here sa ating another lesson. So, I hope na meron kayong natutunan at makatulong naman sa inyo kahit papaano yung diniscuss ko a while ago. Okay, now let us continue discussing about community development approaches. So, number 1, we have the participatory approach. This means that a person is in charge of solving a problem or designing an innovation involves people who are directly concerned by the result of his or her work. Problem solving and innovation are conducted directly with regards to the situation to be transformed. One of the most common accepted definition of participatory development is as follows. Number 1, participatory development seeks to give the poor a part in initiatives and projects that are designed by outside organizations in the hope that these projects will be more sustainable and successful by involving local communities. Next, participatory planning is an urban planning paradigm that emphasizes involving the entire community in strategic and management processes of urban planning or community-level planning process, urban or rural. It is often considered as a part of community development. Ibig Ibig sabihin dito, participatory approach, ini-involve yung mga tao sa pag-design, sa pag-solve ng mga problems. Ini-involve yung nagpa-participate, diba? Direct involvement of people. Okay, next, let's go to number 2. We have here the asset-based approach. Ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng asset-based approach? It builds on the assets that are found in community and mobilizes individuals, associations, and institutions to become or to come together to realize and develop their strengths. Now I'm going to discuss to you the asset-based approach. It builds on the assets that are found in the community and mobilizes individuals, associations, institutions to come together to realize and develop their strengths. This makes it different to a deficit-based approach that focuses on identifying and servicing needs. The asset-based community development approach helps us to begin to open up possibilities and for how we begin to make real changes locally that can benefit people, planet, and place for the long term. In other words, they can help us to build communities that are just sustainable and resilient. Yung pala yung asset-based approach. And number 3, we have here the community-based approach. This is where it is where those who are affected by emergency are included as a key partners in developing strategies related to the assistance and protection, and its inextricability linked to both the right-based approach and the survivor-centered approach. Community-based. Okay, let us now continue discussing community-based approach. It is where those who are affected by emergency are included as a key partners in developing strategies related to their assistance and protection, and it's inextricably linked to both the rights-based approach and the survivor-centered approach. Ibig sabihin, lahat daw ng mga naapektuhan by an emergency. Ito yung mga victims, sabihin na natin victims ng mga calamities, lahat ng mga nangyayari ng mga emergency cases ay isinasama nila sa pag-develop ng isang approach. So sabi nga dito, they are included as key partners para makapag-develop ng strategies related doon sa mga tulong at mga ways to protect them. So, yun. Siyempre, sila yung merong experience o karanasan sa mga nangyayari. That's why it's very effective kung sila din yung makakasama sa key planning and making of strategies. Okay, let's go now to number 4. The area-based approach or area-based settlement-based approaches. It is defined as an area rather than a sector or target group as a primary entry point. This approach can be particularly appropriate if residents in an affected area faces complex, interrelated, and multi-sectoral needs. So as the title says, diba, area-based, area, yung sa location nila, yung lugar nila. So doon nakabase, dinidefine siya based doon sa kanilang lokasyon, diba? Location. Kasi nga area-based approach. Next, we have the community economic development approach. It is a way of working with communities and people to set agenda and organize. Community development is a long-term value-based process which aims to address imbalances in power and bring about change founded on social life status, social justice, equality, and inclusion. Ano ba yung purpose ng community economic development approach? The purpose of this is to build communities based on livelihood program, justice, equality, and mutual respect. Okay? Remember that. And then we have here number 6, the welfare approach. The social welfare can brighten the future for poverty-stricken kids, ultimately halting the cycle of poverty in families at risk. Poverty can be traumatic for children, and welfare helps the next generation become less reliant on government support. So welfare, as the term suggests, welfare approach, dinedevelop dito para magkaroon ng magandang future yung mga tao within the community. 'Di ba? Para hindi na mabawasan yung pag-asa o pagre-rely doon sa ating government. Next, we have the spiritual psychosocial approach. It is concerned with that which is beyond the ordinary perception. Pag sinabi natin na spiritual psychosocial approach, it is characterized by a sense of otherness. Ito yung something there, a sense that we normally perceive is limited in its scope. The spiritual psychology and spiritual counseling enable patients to better understand their own belief, work through that confusion. Meron ditong spiritual psychologies kung saan tumutulong sa individual sa pamamagitan ng pagbibigay at pag-explore ng kanilang psychological side and works toward repairing any shattered pieces of souls. Yan. Binibigyan daw po ng clarification yung mga nagugulong spiritual life nila. Binibigyan ba ng enlightenment? So, ayan po yung ating mga approaches, community development approaches. These are 7. Ito yung pinaka-approaches na helpful sa pagde-develop ng ating komunidad para sa kapakinabangan ng mga nakakarami, 'di ba? For the common good. Ayan 'yon. So, sana ito ay nakatulong sa inyo ng malaki sa pag-identify o pagkakasuri ng ating lesson regarding sa ating tinalakay ngayon entitled Community and Different Perspectives. I hope guys it helps you a lot, and if you like and if you learn something from my blog now, please hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you very much and God bless you.